Oh, without their famous cotton picking skills, we wouldn't have our highway system. Really? Like put that like think about how much cotton you'd have to pick to say without that, America wouldn't be anything. It's like I always wonder what my Spanish and French ancestors did end up here. My native side was just here, obviously, haha. Allegedly, Georgina, I think the whites may have always been here. I don't know. There's so much we don't know, guys. I think these dirty Indians might have come later because I know how they always like flip everything around. I don't know. These filthy Indians may have actually come from India. Oh, how dare you? I don't. They look kind of like Indians that have whites, don't they? Why are they called Indians? Oh, because Columbus thought he landed in India. No chance. America had been found and settled and lived in way before Columbus. Oh, but they thought the earth was flat and they were going to fall off the edge. No, no. They thought the earth was flat because the earth is flat. Fox said he's open to redheaded giants being here already. I think that there was a thriving realm wide society. I mean, if you look at, dude, in my hometown, there's another town near us named Fulton, New York, and it's known for incest and nothing, and a Hershey factory. And then we found out Oswego has more incest. That was very humiliating. But it's just a stop on the way to nowhere. There's like 8,000 people there. There's a Hershey plant and a hockey team, right? There are these buildings there that you don't even look at. They're just these like brick buildings. My buddy who fixes the boiler systems in these buildings said they go down 8 stories. Like they're giant buildings that have been covered in dirt and mud. Giant. And no one talks about it. Like nobody talks about it. And then some of these, I think the Grand Canyon looks a lot like a mining operation. Yeah, why was cotton so allegedly valued? It wasn't. It's a nonsense narrative. There were blacks fighting for the South as free men. The whole narrative is retarded, guys. There was blacks desperately fighting the northern invaders to save their own farms that they own. They don't teach you that in school because then it shows you that the northern it was the war of northern aggression. It was. It factually was. And I'm from New York State. It isn't because I'm raised in the hills of Tennessee and my grandpappy told me that and I'm a retard. No, it's factually accurate. You look at the Civil War and you see like if anybody had a moral side, it was the South because they didn't want to pay the North. They didn't want the North to control their labor. And there was a lot of free blacks in the South, lots. And there was a lot of enslaved whites, and they were enslaved. It's called indentured servitude, and it's been going on. It's still going on. It's called debt. Student debt is modern slavery. Yeah, states' rights, exactly. And now you see the federal mafia that came from the Civil War, where it's like, oh, we don't want to allow abortion here. We don't want to have a DUI. Think about how crazy it is that every state pretty much has the same law around drunk driving and how much alcohol you consume. Like a teetotaler state versus like a real redneck state. Why is that? Because if you don't go along with the federal mandates, they don't give you federal funding. You don't get any money for your highways. That's how it works. It's coercion. It's like, oh, you can say no, but then we'll destroy you. But it's your choice. 100% BB fellow upstate New Yorker who had to break the northern conditioning, see what the truth of the Civil War was. Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense the way it's taught to us that they freed the slaves only to enslave them again. All they did is that was the war that enslaved the everybody. So you had your posterity Americans, the ones that were descended from the founders, that were free men on the land. And then you had your indentured servants and chattel slavery. And they were all different races. There was more chattel slavery that were black allegedly, but it wasn't a racial thing. It was like, the English, the posterity Americans would view the Germans just like they'd view the blacks. No difference. They were a labor source. So the bottom line is always pick your own cotton. All right. They were a labor source that they could enslave. They still did the same thing with student debt. That's why you see so much push to get blacks at college. They'll have like a 40 IQ and they go and they're $200,000 in debt to be like a brain surgeon. Everyone knows they're never going to be a brain surgeon. $1 million in debt. It's to keep them enslaved. It's to keep them in debt. When you're paying your debt, that's all sharecropping is, guys. It's sharecropping with money. It's no different. Oh, the grabber takes a third of your crop. Oh, you poor sharecropper, you poor slave, whatever. What do you think a student debt is? What do you think all these things are? It's an unpayable debt. Same with mortgage, same with all that. Indentured servitude is when you're a slave to the state before you get dentures. Good one, Burn Bear. That withhold money for roads was paid by the taxpayers of the state to a black man. Exactly. So the state will pay their taxes, the federal government collects it, and won't give it back to the state unless the state follows the federal guidelines. That was the result of 1871, right after the Civil War. The South was saying every state has a right to manage itself the way it wants to. The trick is that they're like, oh yeah, you have states' rights. You have your own little legislature and everything. But if you don't agree with us, we keep all your tax money. That's what the war was over.